What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, spoilers in paradise.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for future episodes, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also support the show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial for just a few bucks a month, and you'll gain early access to both our audio and video episodes before they are released to the general public.
Ivan, may the 5th be with you.
Oh, happy 5th.
Happy Cinco de Mayo to us all. Happy Cinco de Cinco.
Cinco de
or whatever
Cinco,
happened on season 4 of Arrested Development.
Mm-hmm. Somebody fell downstairs. That's what happened.
Oh, that is funny when that happens.
That's funny.
But more to the point, I don't want to date us too much by talking about May the 4th or 5th.
I wouldn't date us either.
Yeah, well, it's a common concern. A lot of people are trying to avoid that.
Right.
But something that's going on in the world right now, you might have heard of it, could affect shows just like the popular hit currently running television show Arrested Development.
Yep, still ongoing.
You know what's really depressing to me
200
is that we've reached a point now, and sorry to go on a tangent before I even attempt to broach our subject, is that Arrested Development now is like a Nick at Night show.
Yeah.
Like in my head, Arrested Development is cutting edge, Emmy award winning cult hit classic show, and to Zoomers these days, Arrested Development is the equivalent of like
Seinfeld.
Freaking yeah, I mean even like Silver Spoons or something. It's like it's Family Ties is Arrested Development.
Well, what year did it come out?
2002 or 3, something around there.
So like 20 years ago. So yeah,
it's depressing.
We old.
Anyway, There's a writer's strike happening right now.
Again?
Yeah, again. Another thing to make you feel old. We experienced this in our lifetimes in 2007. Or 2008, somewhere thereabouts, when the writers went on strike. And now again, the Writers Guild of America is on strike. A quick summary for anyone who hasn't heard. They want more money. They want more money from primarily streaming platforms. And they want better conditions, better health care, more guarantees that they'll be hired for more consistent periods of time. They have a lot of demands that the producers basically, most of them refused, or they countered with much lower offers. And so they're on strike right now. And that's significant because it is just before, from what I've read, I've been reading the pro gossip mags.
But how have you been reading if there's no writers?
Well, they wrote a lot of things in advance to publish later.
Oh, because writers don't stop writing.
This is just about the time before most TV shows would start up their writers' rooms for the next season of TV.
Oh, that makes sense because the new season is like September.
So they're basically, if this goes, last time in 2007, it lasted for, I want to say a month, 2 months, somewhere like around that, maybe a little longer. And it significantly affected many big shows.
Right.
They had shortened seasons. They had just cancellations. And we're already seeing that now in the form of both all late night shows and Saturday Night Live are off the table right now. Those are not happening at all. How have you been getting by without your nightly fix of James Corden, Ivan?
Well, it's funny you say James Corden because he literally just ended his show.
That's true.
He went off the air on, what was it, like end of last month. So good job picking a TV show that canceled itself. And he said, we ain't doing this anymore.
He heard that, he knew what was coming, and he was like, might as well go. Good time as any.
I mean, I don't watch late night TV. I don't watch like physical TV anymore. Like, I watch a physical TV. I don't watch cable anymore. I watch all my stuff on streaming or online or whatever. So like, I don't watch late night TV shows unless they come up on my TikTok feed or my my clips that I watch.
Right.
But yeah, was it so back? I thought there was another one between now and '07 because wasn't there the whole thing where like every late night guy had a beard?
That was the '07 one.
That was '07?
Yep. We were in high school.
No, I could have sworn. I could also be thinking of like COVID. Everyone had a beard because like, they were staying at home.
Yeah, wasn't there that time when everybody went on strike and stopped going to work? Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
COVID.
It's a global pandemic. But if I remember correctly, back in 2007 when it happened, didn't we get more like creative things out of it too? Like more like improv shows and like stand-up specials. Like didn't we get different because when you own a TV network, you have to fill this time with something, either reruns or live events. And I feel like we got different, like late night TV show hosts came back, but they didn't have writers.
Yeah, there is some of that.
So it's different stuff.
I mean, one big thing is reality shows and game shows.
Right.
You
that was a big
those.
comeback.
Now,
right.
Because I was reading about this. Well, right. Scripts.
Reality shows are.
It's
depends on how reality
you can do it in a way.
Right.
But it's interesting. So when Conan came back in 2007,
another person who's off the air.
Another person who's off the air. He also, you brought him up first. He also paid his own writers out of pocket throughout all that time.
Right.
And yeah, for all that period, he just, every show was unscripted. He just went nuts. And I have a pretty big nostalgia for that time. I think that was some of the funniest episodes. And I also learned, I didn't know, David Letterman also was on the air because apparently he has like his own independent TV company, and he basically
Worldwide Pants.
He just went ahead and agreed to their demands. So like for just his studio, writers just went back to work because he just gave them what they wanted.
Right, because whoever usually whoever's at that 11:30 slot owns that time slot, and he, like you said, he has his own production company. So he's like, okay, I'm a writer too on this show, so I want these demands met. I mean, he owns the show and all that, but like he was like, okay, I'll just give you what you want, because at the end of the day, without writers, you don't have a television show.
I'm not going to remember who to attribute it to, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Look it up, or maybe we'll post a link. But I saw on Twitter a quote from a writer. I think it was a guy who worked on some writer for some show. I'm sorry. But he had
This is why writers need more credits. This is why they're on strike, because he's just known as writer for some show.
He had a great line about how, writers are responsible for the success of networks, and what happens when you have a network that writers aren't in control of is Quibi. That's
okay. Yeah,
that's what you get, and there probably are people watching or listening to this who don't even remember what Quibi is anymore. It's already gone.
So let me tell you, Quibi. You turn your phone this way. Yeah, Quibi's this way. That's it. That's how you Quibi.
Wow. Now you gave away the time and the date we're recording this. People are going to be able to pinpoint this.
Nah, well,
blur it.
But so for me, a TV show, and like my background, I went to school for TV production, film production, all that. Really, a TV show is your writing staff and your production staff. The host can be filled in by anyone who can read.
You mean by host, you mean also actors? Or
actors, hosts? Because like an actor, you need actors to like act. But like you can get anybody to act. Really, without a TV, like without cameras and without pen to paper, you don't have actors.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. I mean, I don't want to discount actors who also, they do a good job. But if you really get to the source of it, a show doesn't exist without writers. I feel like that really is... There's nothing until somebody writes something down. You can have all the money in the world, all the talent, all the studio space, whatever you want. Unless somebody writes some words down, a show doesn't exist. So
and it's amazing to me that like writers aren't on the same guild as like the production crew, as like Teamsters and stuff, because it is such an iconic, integral part of making a TV show. That's like, why do writers have a separate guild than like everyone else?
Yeah, that's why they're special. They need their own thing. Yeah, I don't know how all these different guilds and unions and things all got started back in the day.
Because like in theory,
I'm a dumb man.
Back in the day, it probably started because MGM was like, we're not giving you any money,
Right.
and then it's basically the same thing that's going on right now. We're going to get a brand new union. But it's also amazing to me that like we do this as a podcast, we do this as YouTube, and writers are still working for YouTube and podcasts. There's no union for any of that.
True.
Like there is no street. Like we are making content for free. But like we're making content that is going out on the web. There's no standardized union for what we do.
There are a lot of things wrong with business and our society in general. There's deeper roots than this, but in general, I do think that a lot of things should have unions that don't. And that
100%.
Be an interesting one. That's an interesting one. But yeah, so I mean, we'll see how this is going to affect things and how long it lasts. I assume that at some point the studios, they have to give in or at least compromise on some of these points. Because they just can't, like you said, they can't exist without these writers for very long.
Well, I wonder if they knew these writer strikes were coming and they like had stuff in plan, because like you really don't need writers for football or sports. So they can like fill their time with stuff like that. We also, and I mentioned it in our pre-show chats, they have, AI.
Well,
so why can't they have AI write these scripts?
That is one of the points actually the writers are working to get them to not be able to do. I think we're not there yet.
They wouldn't be good shows.
Yeah.
But they would be 2 months of filler show.
Yeah, I mean, they may attempt it. Studios may attempt it. If they're ballsy enough, I think it will suck. But...
there's already videos right now of like, have you seen that? I don't know if it's real or not. That pizza commercial, that's an AI generated pizza commercial.
No,
the video was AI. Everything was AI. You can tell it's like somebody's eating a pizza and it's going through their skull. Like it's like that kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fake, but it's that kind of like, we're not there yet.
We're not even
Can
close.
we be there someday? Yes, which is probably why they're striking, because they see the writing on the wall, which you can't write on the walls anymore.
And streaming is also a big part of it. That's the biggest issue, I think, here is that when streaming was established, no one knew what it was before it blew up. And it's still just they never went back and adjusted it for how successful it is now. And
that's what they fought for in 2007 too, because that's when streaming was like hitting the air.
Plus,
it was
and now
strong.
It's even bigger because, after COVID, you realize that theaters aren't getting quite as much play anymore for movies for the most part. And so streaming is really important, and they need to go after the whole thing with Scarlett Johansson and Disney over the Black Widow movie, where she sued them, I believe, for the theatrical revenue that she didn't get. There's a lot of stuff they got to work out. That's an actor, not a writer, but
But still, I'm sure she wrote something. So we apologize in advance. All of our writers are on strike for this episode. So if we are not as fresh as we normally are, I'm sorry.
Now, I have to admit, I did write a case summary for today. However, I'm not part of the Writers Guild.
Well, they won't accept you.
And I'm not taking anyone else's job, and I'm not publishing this. I think it's fine. I think it's okay. But if anybody wants to cancel me over it, then I welcome that.
Right. If they start canceling podcasts, that's a lot of people out of jobs too.
Well, we might. I've been seeing people say we might see a rise in podcasts because you've got a bunch of out of work TV writers and actors right now who need something to do.
My thing, don't do a podcast. We need less podcasts.
Yeah.
Because we need to show who we are in these podcast world.
Just mainly ours should be around, but not anyone else's.
Right. That's it. Yeah.
Now, on our podcast, if you didn't know, we do in fact settle cases between geeks. That's sort of our thing on this show. And today's case is another one of those. It comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our episode description. And it revolves around a fella named Tyler, who has a bit of a disagreement with his girlfriend, Marla. Tyler and Marla are avid TV watchers. They watch all the shows together. House of Cards, the British House of Cards, House of Cards with Spacey and post Spacey,
Mm-hmm.
Every House with Cards, they watch House. They watch Card Shark. They binge
They watch
it all.
people play poker.
Oh, yeah. Poker, celebrity poker, whatever they can get their hands on, they like to watch. Tyler, though. Tyler likes to do a little research before he watches his shows. Tyler looks up spoilers for every show before he watches it, with almost no exceptions. Now,
I thought you were giving me a spoiler.
Sorry. No spoilers in today's episode, I promise. Maybe. When Marla discovers that Tyler does this because he's not shocked by a major plot revelation on one of their shows, she accuses him of ruining the experience by learning about these plot developments ahead of her. Tyler defends himself by saying that he would enjoy the shows less if he didn't know how things were going to resolve, and that the plot isn't the primary reason he enjoys watching with her. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Tyler should do time for reading spoilers ahead of time, or if reading plot points from shows about crime is really no crime.
See, this is what happens when writers go on strike. It doesn't flow as well.
This is the level of quality you can expect until you give in to their demands.
It's not as punny or funny. Like, it doesn't work that way. Can we go right to the verdict? Because I have mine right off the...
Well, I think there's nuance here. There's some old aunts, and I think in this case, maybe we can dig up some nuance.
Please let the writers have their jobs back.
There's definitely aunts. All I know is there's aunts. Okay?
No uncles, only aunts. So
how far can we take this?
Okay. With no writers, far. So you are a big spoiler person. You don't like spoilers. You hate spoilers.
Anti-spoiler.
You're anti-spoiler, ant-spoiler.
Spoiler
You don't even like movie trailers because you might get some kind of spoiler that might ruin.
Oh,
you
will.
So,
guarantee.
I will.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, I feel like this story is very strong for you, and I wouldn't say I'm the opposite, but like, it doesn't 100% bother me because I have the memory of a I forgot what I had memories of.
Oh, is it like?
See, that was a joke.
Oh,
I forgot my memory.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, see, that was a deep one.
Now,
no writers.
A writer didn't write that for you in advance?
Writer didn't write that. Chat AI did.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't like... Spoilers don't necessarily bother me. Like that whole thing online when Harry Potter movies came out, that Snape killed Dumbledore.
Oh,
okay.
You gotta believe... I said there wouldn't be spoilers, and by the way, that was the book. That when the book came out.
Oh, was that the book?
Yes.
That was a long time ago, though.
Yeah, the book happened first. You know that, right?
Well, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
But like,
Yeah, that's the one that got spoiled.
But like that stuff, like it didn't bother me because like, fine, I'll read it and I'll still enjoy it. But I don't like most spoilers don't bother me, but like what they're doing kind of does. Because you're not getting the enjoyment that you would with your significant other.
Okay, so let's piece this out one step at a time. This is definitely a big subject, and I feel like it was inevitable that eventually the spoiler discussion was going to come up on this show.
Right.
So sooner rather than later, we have it now in the form of this case. As you said, I am anti-spoiler. Very much so. I don't like you. I hardly look at anything in advance. If I can go into a movie and know nothing more than the title, which I frequently have done, that's the best possibility for me. I will often watch a movie and go, oh, that actor's in this? And that's exciting.
Where for me, it's the complete opposite. Like I like to know something about the movie. I like to know what I'm going into or if I'm wasting my time with it.
And it's very valid.
Like maybe the actor, like I don't care about the actors. It depends on who's acting in it. That doesn't bother me. But like, I want to know if the subject matter is going to be good for me. If it's a genre that I'm going to like,
sure.
Not necessarily, stuff like that.
Well, I think I have developed over time a pretty good sense of whether or not I am likely to enjoy a movie based on knowing things. I can know things about it. I mean, when I said being surprised by the cast, I'm not really that. I don't consider that actually to be a spoiler. But basically, I'm willing to look at anything that isn't the plot. But if, for instance, like I know this is a Christopher Nolan movie coming out, then I don't need to see anything else. I'm gonna see that movie without question.
Okay.
So like, why do I need marketing? Why should I try to even have the chance of spoiling that experience if it's like 100% I'm gonna see it no matter what. And we can get deeper.
I also like. You and I have a different view also on like ads, marketing, and stuff in general. Like I
love
do.
them.
Not that I love ads, but like I'm not that kind of person who is like I will try to void ads out of my life. Yeah, sure, if it's a pop-up ad or something, I don't like that because I'm not insane. Okay. But like. I like a TV ad. Like I like some commercials. Like some of them are well written, some of them are funny, some of them are whatever. And I feel like that's part of pop culture, but that's not what we're talking about.
Sure,
here.
Some of our best directors started in commercial work.
It's true. Yeah, Christopher Nolan makes great commercials. That would be interesting.
Lars von Trier
commercial. God, who but movie trailers
Terrence
to me
Malick
are like
was doing detergent ads. Okay, go on.
Alfred Hitchcock is doing like ads for popcorn.
Probably back then that's maybe happened.
Yeah, because there was like 4 directors back in the day.
Orson Welles, you can't go wrong there.
Wait, didn't he do that ad? Oh, that was Pinky in the Brain for the green peas.
No, that's Orson Welles. It's the critic did the parody.
Was it the critic?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, it's Orson because it's Maurice LaMarche does the same voice for the brain he does for Orson Welles. Okay.
But so like I enjoy
what show is this? Go on.
Bad tangent. I enjoy trailers. Like I like watching movie trailers. I even have an app on my TV that's like upcoming movie trailers because like that's an art in itself of boiling down a movie for good or bad within a 30-90 second thing. A clip, trying to get people to come into it. And I don't feel like a lot of like a spoiler normally doesn't, a trailer normally doesn't end like showing what the final scene is in the movie.
A lot of them do. You'd be surprised. A lot of them really do. But I will say I have come a little bit around on trailers. Like I've sort of fine-tuned a way of, I just said fine-tuned because I'm about to say the word tuning out and my wires got crossed. I've sort of developed a way of tuning out from trailers like enough where I can kind of get a sense of it. But like you said, I know I'll forget most of it if I decide to go see that movie. But there are certain things like Marvel movie trailers have in the past often shown crucial third act scenes and plot points right in the trailer and cameos and stuff like that is much more fun to see fresh. I avoid those like the plague. Or for certain things like I actually did watch the first one. Well, usually what I'll do now is I'll watch the teaser trailer. Like the first trailer that comes out that's like a minute long. But if you watch like probably the thing is you might not even see the trailers that come out right before, like when the movie comes out. Usually they'll drop a full trailer like 3 days before online or something, and that's usually like 3 minutes that just straight up gives you the plot of the movie.
Well, those are different. I guess I normally talk about the teaser because like once a trailer goes over like a minute, it's like you're right, it's showing you like the movie boiled down.
Yeah.
And like I don't need to necessarily see that. Like teaser trailers, sure.
The thing that sucks is that they've done the research, and the reason they do that is because it sells more tickets. Like it's been proven that, like Tyler, people like to know exactly what they're getting.
Well, which so we're talking. This is 2 different things. Sure. Tyler is more about
Tyler's
TV
more
shows.
About TV shows, yeah.
But in movies,
I will say movie ticket, I don't watch the next time on at the end of a TV show either. But go ahead.
But so I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
So like a movie, you want to know what you're getting into because like you're spending between $10 and $20 to go see this thing.
Very true.
And you have a subscription pass.
Yeah.
Where like you're going to see every movie because you want to get your money's worth out of it.
Right.
So fine, for that works. But like for other people or families of like 4 who are spending like $50 to $70 to see a movie, they want to make sure it's going to be something that they're not wasting their money on.
That's incredibly valid.
Because like for me, even like if I go to a theme park, I'll watch a walkthrough of a ride to make sure like, oh, I'm going to be waiting in line for an hour for this. Is this something I'm going to like? Yeah. Because like I don't like spending money on stuff that I'm not going to enjoy.
We gotta add theme parks to our list of possible subjects on this show.
We do. That would be a good
I could do
too.
a lot of good theme park talk. No, and that's totally fair. I get that for many cases. I think that's acceptable. Now, as you said, Tyler is really talking about TV shows specifically, although he says he does this for everything.
And TV shows really don't have
the barrier to entry is not as high.
Because his spoiler is he had to go read someone's review or read the script
Wikipedia.
or the summary, Wikipedia of the show, which that's his first mistake because that could be right or wrong. You never know how Wikipedia works. But like there are no trailers for a TV show. Sure, like I guess there's commercials on regular TV for like this week we have John Stamos on whatever show this is. You know, I don't know if he's still a relevant actor or not. But
yeah, he is.
He is? Okay.
He is. Yeah. They're coming back for Fullest House.
But like that thing, like, but there's no like TV shows for me don't have as much spoilers unless you're going into the forums.
Well, right.
And
Twitter. Yeah. That's where the real spoilers lie. But it's true. The marketing, they will have promos and stuff, but nowadays when you're talking about streaming shows, mainly, they don't have really a platform. Although actually some will like, HBO, and I think sometimes I've seen maybe on Hulu, some other ones will have a little thing, like a little 20-second, check out some of our other shows sometimes.
Well, I do hate that Netflix is starting to piss me off more and more because like when you log into Netflix, it'll show you the advert or the trailer or whatever for their newest show. And like it'll be loud, it'll be like the first thing when you log in, it'll be like, haunted house number 44. It'll show you the trailer for that without you clicking on it.
Well, the fun thing, as you know, for Netflix is that it's different on every device you ever access it on. And I think some of that I've disabled as much of that as I can. And but you have to like go on the website to disable it. And then hopefully that links to your TV or whatever else you're watching it on. I don't even know, but yeah, that can be annoying. Sometimes even the description of a show gives away.
Well, I've already had a show where it's like, oh, we meet Jack, and by the way, Jack dies in the final scene. It's like, what the what?
Have you ever done this? Sometimes a previously on will come on, and it's like season 5, episode 7 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the previously on is showing you a bunch of clips of Angel from season 2 who hasn't been on the show for 2 seasons. And you're like, well, I guess Angel's going to be in this episode.
Angel's coming back. Yep.
Because why the hell is something? I used to even, and this is really extreme now, if you remember the show Lost, I don't know if you ever like really watched Lost. Did you ever get into it?
No, but I know it. No, I never saw it.
But Lost was like the ultimate, especially at the time, every week was a new twist. There were like, we weren't really at the like peak of Twitter spoiler culture yet, but there was always surprises and crazy things happening. I would at the start of each episode, I would watch it like this with my hand in front of my face because I didn't want to see the actors' names on the bottom of the screen in the credits because I would recognize a character who like was dead or something.
Right.
and I wouldn't know who was going to be in the episode.
Well, that was me for Battlestar Galactica when it was still on Sci-Fi. The opening would be the bum and showing clips from the show, so I would literally turn around.
That's the dumbest to me of like, or if I'm binging a show that's already out and they have the next time on at the end.
That's what I was going to come back to. Yeah, like when it's like next time on Battlestar Galactica, when it was on TV and we watched TV shows week to week, most of the time you're probably going to forget that by next week, or that's when you get up to go get snacks or coffee or whatever. But now when you're watching these shows back to back, it's like you just showed me what I'm going to watch in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's like it's next. Like, don't worry.
Right.
Probably your thing is going to autoplay it before this even is finished.
Well, yeah.
But we're kind of going all over the place, which I like. It's a good discussion. But if we focus in on Tyler here, who's specifically talking about TV shows and specifically also as it relates to watching it with his significant other. Now, you said that's the part that maybe you don't agree with as much of this, right?
Well, watching it with your significant
Yeah.
other? Oh, no. I agree with, like,
No,
we
no,
watch
no,
shows.
no. I meant.
Oh. I'm like, wait a minute.
I thought you were joking. I meant the part of looking up the spoilers with and knowing more than them.
I feel like that is like, okay, the old thing of the internet meme of, oh, he watched a show without me. He skipped an episode. I'm breaking up with him. We've gotten into fights about that, me and Danny.
Yeah.
Because, like, he'll be like, oh, yeah, you fell asleep, so I kept watching. I'm like, why didn't you stop it? Or why didn't you wake me up? Because then, like, we're watching the show and, like, he's like, oh, yeah, wait till this happens. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
No, that's a betrayal. That is a true betrayal.
And I feel like going online and finding out, like, reading the plot summary is the same thing as watching the show. Like, I believe we had a whole thing. One of our previous cases was somebody who that's how they watched TV shows.
We had Skip.
Was they watched, skipped, and that's how they knew to skip shows.
Right. So, yes, that is true. Now, there is some overlap here because it is interesting because it's almost two contradictory ideas in my head, because one of Skip's sticking points, and this is a callback to our episode called the Fast Forward and the Furious. That's what it was called.
Fast Forward and the Furious. There it is.
From a few weeks ago. Skip said the plot didn't matter. Skip said for Skip it was kind of the opposite. He was sort of only cared about the plot.
Right, didn't care about the filler.
Would skip like what we said was really important, which is the atmosphere, the craft of the acting and the production that goes into it. And here, this guy's kind of saying, well, the plot's not important. The rest of it's more important. To which I agree and disagree with both of these simultaneously, kind of, because I'm like, often I do agree the plot is one of the least important things in terms of my enjoyment of a movie or a TV show. Like, strictly speaking, it has to be, everything else has to be done well for me to enjoy it. And I shouldn't say the plot isn't important. I guess what I mean when I say that is that the plot doesn't have to be intricate.
So what you're saying is all the writers on strike now mean nothing to you because they wrote this plot.
Fuck them. like a great example, a movie I really love is Gravity. And Gravity is really criticized by some people for its plot being super simple and fluffy. Same with Avatar, like people saying it was repetitive, been done, nothing innovative. But what makes those movies great for me isn't the plot, it's the whole package. It's how it's presented and how it's executed. Right. But at the same time, I still, if there is a plot, that's not a bad thing. Like, having a plot is not a negative, having an intricate plot. And if you are going to watch something, especially, we don't have specifics on which shows. I know I riffed about House of Cards earlier, but no specific shows were mentioned by Tyler. But depending on the show, like if it is a Lost, for instance, or a Breaking Bad, or so many of these shows now that really kind of depend,
that have a significant,
they're week to week serialized stories. It feels like a disservice to yourself to omit that. Now, in fairness, again, I don't personally relate to it, but I sort of have understand and have heard this. There are people who, I think it comes down to a matter of anxiety issues, where some people legitimately are anxious about watching things that they don't know the outcome of, that could be sad or unpleasant or upsetting. And they can genuinely become uncomfortable watching it blind.
Huh.
So,
I feel like then at that point, don't watch TV.
Well, no, I mean,
because like if you're watching it blind, that's different. Like if you're going into it and not knowing what it is, isn't it the same thing as reading? Like you're not going to know what it is when you're reading it either. So you're learning the same things.
I completely agree with that. That's a pretty valid argument. I agree. It's not like at some point you're learning everything for the first time.
Right, be it in a text or on TV. Like,
I guess the difference for them, for these people, I don't know if this is Tyler specifically, but I get the sense that it is when it's just in a text summary, you can kind of distance yourself from it. Whereas if you're immersed in a show, it feels more real to you. But yeah, I agree. It's like if you're gonna be surprised at some point. You might as well be surprised.
Like you're going to get this information at some point in your life. And what I also don't understand is, okay, fine, you have, TV date night with your significant other, and you're setting up to watch this show. Why would you go and read it? Like I'm assuming the show came out. Like, let's say they're watching a brand new show, like it was back in the day, Lost was new. You have to wait until somebody watched it and then wrote it,
right,
to see it. I'm assuming you're going to watch it within a day. So why, like, it's not like you have to wait for your significant other to get home from, like, let's say they're deployed and you have to wait to watch this entire show with them. And you have to, like, read this and you don't want to watch it because it's like watching cheating TV, like that whole thing.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't understand going out of your way to read something.
I think Tyler he specifically says if it's a show that, like, just aired, he'll probably will just watch it. That's like the one exception. But if it's been a couple of days, then he'll look it up. He'll look up that summary.
I feel like he's just not good. I don't know.
So it's not necessarily like a deal breaker for him, but if he has the opportunity, he will read ahead of time. I mean, you kind of said this before, but I assume you would be annoyed if you were watching something and he was like, "Oh yeah, I read about that."
Well, like, okay, yeah, if he were to just be like, "Oh, I read about that," but there's also like certain tells people have. So like you can tell when somebody knows what's going on in the TV show before you watch it, because like they might not be actively watching it. They might be on their phone being like, "Oh yeah," and know the cue points, or like be like, "Oh yeah, I know I can go to the bathroom. Nothing's going on here right now." You know what I'm saying? Like there's like certain things like you can watch somebody and if they're not getting it at the same time as you are, either they're stupid or they don't, or they know it already. So like you can tell.
Marla in this case wants to have a shared experience. I think that's the crux of it that's making her upset, is she wants them to be going through something together. And it feels
Which
like,
makes sense.
Yeah, he's already seen it. He's been there, done that. So she's playing catch up. Like he's ahead of him. They're in two different places.
And there are times like, sure, me and Danny will watch a comedy together. I'll find a joke funny where he won't, and vice versa. So it's like you're not always going to be on the exact same wavelength at all times. But it will. Like I could see where she's coming from, because you can tell when somebody's seen something.
Yeah, and that's another issue. This sounds like they're mostly watching stuff for the first time together. But sometimes you want to show somebody one of your favorite TV shows or movies because you want to see how they're going to react when that big moment happens. And if they just read it online, it really ruins it.
Which I've been on the other side of that, where like Danny will put on a show that he's like watched all of his life. Right. And he's like, "Oh, I want to see where this happens." And I'm like, it's so creepy. Like, I know something's coming up because you see this. Because like you've done that too. You'll put on something and be like, I can see you kind of like looking at like.
No, honestly, I don't like doing that anymore because it's too upsetting to show someone my favorite thing and then they don't like it.
And they don't, yeah.
It's like, or I can't, and then I won't even enjoy the movie because I'm sitting there the whole time nervous, like, why didn't they laugh at that?
Right. Or you want to be like, you're supposed to laugh there. Why didn't you laugh?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that was the funny part.
Right.
Like, yeah, that can be disappointing. So, in this specific case, another important thing we should say, if this wasn't clear, is that Tyler is not spoiling it for her. So,
right.
he's
not coming home being like, X, Y, and Z happened. Here, let's put on the show.
He is only directly affecting himself, but indirectly affecting her, as we already pointed out.
Now, would you be upset? Like, you found out your partner was doing this and reading the case summary. Would you be like upset?
Yeah, I mean, I would be certainly annoyed.
Now, would you be annoyed because they're ruining their own experience, or because they're ruining your experience?
Yeah, both. I would be annoyed because I feel like
too.
they're not enjoying it, and I would be annoyed because I would have this feeling like you think you're better than me. Like you're smarter
right.
than
You
I
got
am.
this information before I did. You think you're something special, bro?
Yeah, like you're not one of the plebs who's in the dark over here.
Right.
Yeah, it would piss me off, and I would probably just be like, I'm just not going to watch shows with you if you're going to do that.
Well, that would be the other thing too. Be like, okay, fine, then I'm going to watch this show on my own. You go play games or go read.
Yeah,
if you like reading so much, go read.
Yeah, like if you really like need to read about something that bad before you watch it, unless it's like legitimately like we were talking about an anxiety thing, like a medical disability, like you'll throw up if you don't read this or something, or you'll have like traumatic flashbacks. That's a different thing. If it's like you're looking for triggering things or something, that's totally different. But if you're just doing this for every show, I don't want to be part of that vibe.
And I would say it was different. Like if you found out like somebody died at the end of a movie or end of a TV show on Twitter by mistake, that's different. Because it sounds like they're reading like a full summary of the show.
Yeah.
It's not like they found out like, oh crap, I saw on somebody's TikTok a clip of the show and this is going to happen. It's you're reading the script, for lack of better terms,
they're reading
of the show. The
Spark Notes.
That's basically what they're doing. They're getting the Spark Notes of a TV show before it airs. And as like I like to read, but I'm always been a in front of the screen person. I'm a video person. And I need to have like I would rather watch somebody tell me a story than me make up a story. And like that's just who I am. Where like Tyler might be more of a reader. Like maybe he doesn't like watching these shows.
Yeah, but
maybe he is more of a reader. But
yeah, that's a strange way to express your love of reading. I don't know. That's what subtitles are for. Then you can read the whole show.
Right, that's like me just trying to reach out and be like, maybe there's something he can, but no, it's,
I don't even like to have subtitles on because I'll probably read what it says before the actor says it. And I'm like, actually, that subtitle ruined it for me.
There's an app, I don't know if you know what Plex is.
Oh, I do know what Plex is.
But Plex, you can go in and by the millisecond change the subtitles because sometimes they'll be too early or too late, and you could actually sync it up by the millisecond.
Wow.
To when it goes on. It's actually it's quite good because I've fixed that a few times.
Yeah, that's a pretty good. I know VLC player might have something like that too, maybe.
Probably, yeah. Because there's a few things I like to have subtitles on it because it's a quieter movie, but yeah.
Well, I think it's clear in general which way we're leaning here, but verdicts.
What was his name again?
Tyler.
Tyler is guilty.
All right, plain and simple. Is there any debate in your mind on this one?
No, because like I said, unless you are reading these by mistake or you're in the only way, if you work in an office or a 9-to-5 job and you want to be up on the water cooler talk and in on the conversation, and let's say you don't have time to watch the show with your significant other until maybe a week later or whatever, then maybe you want to read up on it to become not popular, but like in the conversation of the office. So in that case, maybe you
it's
get
the
some
conversation
quick notes,
of the office.
Right. You're watching The Office at the office with people you went to the office with. You want to talk office. But other than that, no. I don't think there's any like there isn't anything that like just go home and watch the show. And if you don't have time for it, like just wait. Just wait.
All right. So I think I'm going to be a little more charitable here. I do understand there are some important points here in that Tyler isn't harming other people. I feel like that's a recurring theme of our judgments on this show. It's always, are they directly hurting anyone else? And Tyler is not.
But he is bothering her because he isn't getting she isn't getting the same thing at the same time as
but I guess I would argue that I think it's indirect rather than direct. She's annoyed by his behavior, but he's not technically doing something to her. And maybe that distinction is not big enough for you, but I think it's at least somewhat of a distinction. And there's also the fact, like we said, if Tyler says this is how I enjoy shows, and he's not hurting anybody else, then, more power. If you're somebody who wants to do this and watch shows and that's what you like, it's not, like I said, directly hurting anybody. Now, in this case, like you said, it is indirectly causing Marla stress. Right. So I agree that adds something to the scales. The scales of justice, of course, I'm referring to.
Oh, the justice scales.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about the scales on a fish. That would be ridiculous.
Oh.
Writers. We need writers. But
we do.
I am personally, as we've established, very anti-spoiler. And right. I think the precedent that I established, again, back in the Fast Forward and the Furious case, was that even though in that case Skip was only hurting himself, I still pronounced him guilty for hurting himself. And in this case, even though it's possible that Tyler maybe isn't even hurting himself, I think Tyler, as is often happens to be the case, doesn't know what's good for him the way I know what's good for him. And this isn't good for him. Right. And he could lead a happier, healthier life if he changed his ways. And that's why I have to agree with you and say that he's guilty.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing to me. Like we talked about minor spoilers before, but it's just so weird to me to read the plot of the show before. Like, the only thing I've ever done beforehand, I've read is this the last episode in the series?
Sure.
Or is there another something coming up? That's basically, and I don't do that often. It's like if we don't know the timeline of something, or I think for one of the Star Treks, it was how to watch the shows, in which order to watch them, way of filming or way of production. What I'm talking about.
There's always stuff like that, yeah.
But that's the only thing I would go out of my way to read on. But so what do you think the punishment should be for this crime?
Yeah, we've got to sentence Tyler here. I mean, the obvious one is usually the one I come up with because I'm an obvious man. And that is that maybe he's just, for the next year, which may not be relevant because there's not going to be any TV shows written anymore. But he can only read Wikipedia summaries. He's not allowed to watch the show.
That was basically mine too.
He puts on headphones and a blindfold, or just turns around, and as his girlfriend watches the show, he just reads about it.
But while he's looking at her, he has to see her reactions, but he doesn't know what's going on.
Or maybe
it's not the same.
He has
reaction.
to get her. She will tell him everything that happened after the fact, and maybe kind of do a shitty job of it because she can't remember everything.
Yes, he has to read her summaries of the show.
She writes them up for him the best that she can. Yeah. It's not a way to live, Tyler. It's not a way to be. Just experience life, people. Just let it come at you.
It's an audio visual medium. Enjoy both the audio.
That's right.
And the visual.
Yeah, that's not a text medium.
No,
unless it's subtitles, then it's fine.
Or it's an adaptation of the show, which is a completely different.
Sure, the novelization.
Right.
I always love to read those.
Or you're one of the writers who wrote this very amazing show, which go support your local writers somehow.
Listeners and watchers of this show, of course, we're available on YouTube as well as on all your favorite podcast platforms.
All of them?
Yes, every single one of them, except for that one.
Oh.
Those people might have differing opinions from us. They might be spoiler people. They might have skimmed through the description or the comments in this episode to try to see what our verdict is before we gave it.
Oh, yeah, there could be spoilers for this show.
It's true. Those people may want to write into us to give us their differing opinions via geeksontrial@gmail.com. Now, that is also conveniently the place where you can submit your own case. If you have a geeky thing that happened to you in your life, some kind of an argument around board games, movies, video games, whatever, theme parks, you can either email us there or use our handy-dandy submission form, which is linked in our episode description.
And if you want to be just one day early and get those spoilers out the door, you can pay to get episodes a day early than anyone else and write those spoilers. And you can do that by going over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/geeksontrial. And, $3 a month. And you get early access to all these episodes, and you can write your hearts out and spoil it for everyone.
And hey, here's a fun plug. If you enjoy us, and if you caught last week's episode in which we had Will on as a guest, we also guested on a video over on his channel, youtube.com/rollforcrit, where we played a terrible card game and ate hot sauce.
Yeah. How was your stomach after that?
It was okay. It was fine. Like I as I said, I think to me the worst part of that was the nuggets. The hot sauce didn't affect me.
The nuggets and the milk.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
You'll go see what the nuggets and the milk are all about, but we'll put a link to that as well, and that's a fun video if you want to check that out. And do we have to plug anything else? Just ourselves, I guess?
Yeah, I guess ourselves. You can find me. I have a brand new Snack Guy video. It's youtube.com/thesnackguy, where I rate and review the brand new Sierra Mist replacements Starry.
Oh,
spoiler alert! It's the same thing.
Yeah, I tried Starry. Yeah, it's the same.
It's just it's Zoomerified.
Yeah,
if I can say that.
Yeah, it's not a good name.
I go off on a rant about that too.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter at Quentz. And what the hell? You can check out my other YouTube channel, which is also at Quentz, where I almost never post anything, and sometimes I feel like I should. But I do have some videos about theme parks there since we brought them up. I have some big videos about Walt Disney World, and they're funny. And also some about my favorite movies and TV shows and other stuff. So there you go. There's a plug.
He doesn't put out videos that often, but when he does, they're
yeah, that's right. It's like it's not like this shitty show where it's quantity over quality.
No. But you should support this show by giving us a 5-star rating over on the iTunes podcast store.
It would be so awesome if you did that, man. Oh, I would suck you. Okay.
What?
Sorry, I'm just trying to earn that explicit rating.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Hope families weren't listening to this episode.
I hope they were. Until next time, I'm Ivan Hahn.
I'm Jonathan Estes.
And what show is this?
Geeks on Trial, baby.
Oh, he's right.